My wife cheated with our lawyer, secretly transferred $250, $0 from our joint account into her sister's name, and now she's claiming I'm the one trying to steal our house worth over $1 million. I didn't even know about half of the mess until the court papers showed up. I never thought I'd be the guy sitting here telling a story about how my wife turned out to be the biggest liar and cheat I've ever met. Honestly, I still can't believe it's real. The most shocking part, I found out about her affair with our lawyer, Jason, completely by accident. One day I was going through some emails on my phone, just routine stuff, when I noticed a strange message. It was from Jason, and it wasn't about legal work. It was more personal, flirty, even suggestive. My stomach dropped. I knew something was off, but I didn't want to believe it. Had always been a bit bitchy, but I thought maybe she was just stressed, or maybe I was overthinking things. But that email, that was the tip of the iceberg. Over the next few days, I started noticing little things. Was acting weird, secretive calls late at night. Brushing me off when I asked about her day, and she kept deleting her texts. I didn't want to jump to conclusions, but my gut told me something was wrong. Then I found her phone one evening when she was out with her friends. I saw messages from Jason, more explicit, more suggestive. They were talking about meeting up, finishing what we started, and other stuff that made my blood boil. I felt sick. How could she do this? How could she betray me like that after all the years we've been together? I decided to dig deeper. I started checking bank statements, emails, anything I could find. That's when I uncovered the worst part. She had secretly transferred $250, $0 from our joint account into her sister's name. I couldn't believe my eyes. She'd been lying right to my face, hiding this huge chunk of money. When I confronted her about it, she spun some bullshit about it being an investment, that she was planning to start a business. Yeah, right. I knew she was lying, but I didn't have concrete proof until I saw the transfer myself. That's when everything hit me like a ton of bricks. Not only was she cheating on me, but she was also planning to run away with our money, and she had the audacity to tell me I was overreacting. The worst part, she's now claiming I'm the one trying to steal our house, which is worth over $1 million. She's spinning this story that I'm the bad guy, that I've been controlling and abusive, and that she's just trying to protect her sister from me. But I didn't even know about half of this mess until the court papers showed up on my doorstep last week. She's filing for divorce, trying to lock me out of the house, and I feel like I've been punched in the gut. All this time I thought we had something real. Turns out she was just pretending to be the perfect wife while she was screwing around and secretly draining our savings. I'm furious, more than furious, honestly. I feel betrayed on every level. I trusted her with my life, with my money, with everything. And now I realize she's been lying to me from day one. The emotional has been brutal. I go from anger to sadness, and now I'm just numb. I do even know what to think anymore. This isn't just about the affair. It's about the fact that she was planning to run away with our entire future, and I was blind to it. I keep asking myself how I didn't see the signs earlier, how I missed all the red flags. But honestly, I was too blinded by love and hope that she'd change, that she'd come clean. Instead, she was out there screwing around and scheming behind my back. The thing is, I don't want to be the victim here, but it's hard not to feel that way. I've lost my trust, my sense of security, and now I have to figure out what comes next. I've decided I'm not going to let her walk all over me. I've got plans, legal ones, financial ones, and I'm going to fight for what's mine. I want her to pay for what she's done, and I want her to know I'm not going down without a fight. I'll admit, part of me still hopes she'll come clean, that she'll finally tell the truth, and maybe, just maybe, we can salvage something. But deep down, I know that's probably wishful thinking. This whole thing has opened my eyes to who she really is, nothing like the woman I married. I used to think she was perfect, but now I see she's just a manipulative, selfish woman who used me for her own gain. I'm angry, but I'm also hurt. I trusted her with everything, and she betrayed me in the worst way possible. I don't know where this story ends, but I do know I have to pick up the pieces and move forward. The truth is, I'm not sure I'll ever fully recover from this, but I do know one thing. I won't let her ruin me. Not without a fight. After I found out everything, the affair, the secret transfer of money, and the court papers claiming I was the one trying to steal our house, I felt like I'd been hit by a freight train. It was almost surreal, like I was watching a bad movie that I couldn't wake up from. I kept asking myself how could do this to me, how she could lie so effortlessly, spin these stories about her sister and her innocence, while behind my back she was screwing around with Jason and siphoning off our savings. The first night after I discovered the court papers, I stayed up all night. I read every detail, every document, trying to make sense of the chaos. I kept staring at the numbers 250, zero transferred without my knowledge. That's a huge amount of money. I kept thinking about how she had kept this from me, how she'd been planning this entire betrayal for months, maybe longer. It hit me hard that I'd been completely blind. She had this perfect facade, acting like the caring wife, the devoted mother, and meanwhile she was plotting her escape, lying to my face every day. The next morning I confronted her. I knew I couldn't hold back anymore. I called her at work. Her tone was bitchy and dismissive from the start. I told her I knew everything, that I had seen the emails, the bank transfer, the court papers. She tried to deny it, of course. Said I was paranoid, that I was twisting things, that Jason was just a friend helping her with legal stuff. She claimed the money was for her sister's business venture, and that I was just jealous, insecure, trying to control her. That's when I lost my temper. I told her she was full of shit, that I wasn't some fool, and that I knew she'd been cheating on me for months. Her reaction: she got defensive in a way that made me want to punch her. She called me crazy, said I was making her life hell, and accused me of trying to ruin her reputation. She even had the nerve to say I was the one trying to steal our house, like I'd ever want to do that. She said, "You're just jealous because I found someone better than you," and that she was done pretending. That's when I felt my blood boil. How could she be so cold, so ruthless? She was out there screwing around, draining our bank account, and now she's trying to turn everything around on me. Honestly, I felt a mix of rage and heartbreak. I'd loved her once, but now I saw her for what she really was: a manipulative, selfish woman who'd lie and cheat her way through our marriage. I wanted to believe she'd come clean, that she'd tell me the truth, but she just kept spinning her lies. I realized I couldn't trust her anymore, not even a little bit. She was dangerous in her deception, and I knew I had to do something. I couldn't let her get away with this. I had to protect what was mine, what we'd built together. That day, I started thinking about my options. I didn't want to just walk away and let her take everything, no way. I contacted a lawyer, told him everything I knew, and asked what I could do to stop her from screwing me over any further. The legal process is slow, but I was determined. I started gathering evidence: screenshots, bank records, emails. I knew I had to be prepared for her next move because I could see she was already planning her escape. She was bitchy, aggressive, and manipulative. She'd try to spin this into some kind of victim story, and I knew I had to be ready for that. Meanwhile, she kept up her act, pretending to be the innocent wife. She told friends she was just trying to protect her sister, that I was trying to control her, that she was done with the lies. It made me sick to hear her lie so effortlessly. She even had the nerve to accuse me of being abusive, which was completely false. I've never laid a finger on her or raised my voice. All I ever wanted was honesty and respect, and now I was faced with this huge betrayal. It's like she threw everything out the window just to get her way, even if it meant destroying our life together. I felt more alone than ever. I didn't tell many people about what was happening, just a few close friends I trust. I didn't want to spin her lies further or to paint me as the villain. I just wanted to focus on what I could do to protect myself and my assets. I knew she was planning to claim I was trying to steal the house, but I had proof that she was the one doing the scheming. That's what kept me going, knowing I wasn't crazy, that I had evidence on my side. Still, it was hard to shake the feeling of betrayal, of being totally by someone I thought loved me. This whole mess opened my eyes to the fact that you really don't know someone until they're tested. Wasn't just a wife who cheated, she was a con artist, a liar and a thief, all wrapped into one. And now I'm stuck trying to untangle this disaster, figure out what's real and what's not, and somehow come out of it with what's left of my dignity intact. I don't know what the future holds, but I do know I'll fight for my rights, for the truth, and for whatever justice I can get. Because if there's one thing I've learned, it's that betrayal cuts deep, and the only way to heal is to confront it head-on. After spending days buried in legal documents and trying to piece together what had been up to, I realized this was just the beginning. The more I dug, the more I uncovered layers of lies and deception. She'd been planning this for a while, probably since the day she started her affair with Jason. The transfer of $250, $0 was just the tip of the iceberg. I found emails where she was discussing how to hide money, how to make it look like she was just helping her sister, and even instructions on how to manipulate the court papers so I'd look like the bad guy. It was so calculated, so cold, that I felt like I was dealing with a criminal rather than my wife. One of the most shocking revelations came when I discovered that I'd been secretly talking to a lawyer, her own lawyer, about how to shield her assets from me. She had hired someone to help her transfer the money, to set up accounts in her sister's name, and to forge documents that would make it look like everything was legal. I couldn't believe I was married to someone who would go this far to cover her tracks. She'd even lied about her income during the divorce proceedings, claiming she had no assets, but I had proof she'd been hiding everything. It made me feel sick, like I was living with a complete stranger. Meanwhile, kept throwing out insults, calling me paranoid, controlling, and jealous. She'd call me a bastard when I'd confront her about her lies, and she'd accuse me of trying to ruin her life just because I wanted to know the truth. I remember one particular conversation where she yelled, "You think I'd cheat on you if I didn't want to leave? Grow up. You're just insecure. I deserve better than this." Crap. That was her way of twisting everything around, making me look like the villain while she was the victim. But I wasn't buying it anymore. I saw through her act. I had to keep my emotions in check because I knew any mistake could give her an edge. I stayed calm, collected, and focused on gathering evidence. I hired a private investigator to follow her and Jason just to see if I could catch them in the act. Turns out that was a good move. I caught them meeting in secret, and I even got photos of Jason's car parked outside's place late at night. I felt a mix of anger and disgust. She was out there screwing around with a guy who was supposed to be just her lawyer, and she was lying to my face about everything. One of the most infuriating things she did was try to gaslight me during our conversations. She tell me I was imagining things, that I was crazy for suspecting her, and that I was just trying to sabotage her. When I brought up the bank transfer, she'd say, "That's just a loan from my sister, you're overreacting." She kept insisting she was innocent, that she was only doing this for her family, and that I was just jealous because I can't handle her success. I wanted to scream. How could she be so manipulative? How could she turn everything into some kind of excuse or blame-shifting tactic? It was like talking to a wall of lies. I also found out that she'd been secretly communicating with Jason through encrypted apps, texts that disappeared after a certain time, messages in code, and even some voice notes. She was careful, calculating. She knew what she was doing. It wasn't just a fling. It was part of a bigger plan to leave me with nothing. I felt betrayed at every level, not just as a husband, but as a person. How could she do this to me, to our kids? How could she be so selfish? I kept asking myself if I ever really knew her or if I'd been living with a complete stranger all along. Amid all this chaos, I started feeling isolated. I didn't tell many friends about the extent of the mess, just a couple of close ones I trusted. I was afraid if I confided too much, might spin it against me or try to turn the narrative in her favor. I didn't want her to manipulate anyone else, but I also knew I couldn't keep this bottled up. I had to do something. That's when I decided to get a lawyer involved and start preparing for the worst: court battles, custody hearings, and fighting for my rights. I had to be ready for her next move, because I knew she was planning to come at me with everything she had. The thing that cut the deepest was that she still kept up the act of being the perfect wife in front of her friends and family. She'd call me abusive or crazy whenever I confronted her, and she'd cry and act victimized. She'd tell everyone I was trying to ruin her reputation, which was hilarious because I had all the proof of her lies. But she's good at manipulation. She's bitchy, sharp-tongued, and not afraid to lie outright if it means she gets what she wants. That's what makes this so hard, knowing she's willing to lie, cheat, and steal her way out of this mess while I stand here trying to hold everything together. I've learned a lot about her in these past few weeks, more than I ever wanted to know. She's not the woman I married. She's a liar, a thief, and a master manipulator. And I'm left picking up the pieces of a life I thought I knew. I keep telling myself I'll get through this, that I'll come out stronger. But honestly, some days I just feel numb, like everything I believed in has been shattered. I don't know how I'll rebuild after this, but I do know one thing: I refuse to let her win. I'll fight for what's mine, for the truth, and for my sanity. Because if there's one thing I've learned, it's that betrayal cuts deep, and the only way out is to face it head on. I never imagined my life would come crashing down like this, but here I am, in the middle of a nightmare I can't wake up from. After discovering Safair, her secret money transfers, and the court papers accusing me of trying to steal our house, I knew I had to act fast. The truth is, I felt like I was drowning, overwhelmed by anger, betrayal, and a sense of helplessness. Every time I thought I had a handle on things, something else surfaced. Another lie, another scheme she'd cooked up behind my back. It was like fighting a ghost. She was always one step ahead, twisting everything to fit her narrative. I started to realize that was not just cheating on me. She was actively trying to destroy what we had. She'd been planning this for months, maybe longer. Her secret accounts, her encrypted messages, her lawyer's advice, all designed to shield her from any fallout. I found out she had hired a private investigator of her own to follow me, to make sure I wasn't catching her in the act. It was sickening to think she'd gone to such lengths just to keep her lies hidden. I felt so betrayed, so angry that I could barely sleep. The nights were the worst, laying in bed, replaying everything, wondering how I'd been so blind. One of the most infuriating things was her constant denial. Every time I confronted her with new evidence, she'd get bitchy, defensive, and outright lie. She'd call me paranoid, crazy, or accuse me of trying to control her. She'd say, "You're just jealous because I found someone better," or "You're making this all up to ruin me." That kind of gaslighting made me feel like I was losing my mind. Honestly, I wanted to shake her and scream, "Look at what you're doing. This isn't just cheating, it's theft, manipulation, and deception on a scale I never thought possible." I also learned some horrifying details about her financial schemes. She'd been transferring money in secret, forging documents, and even creating fake identities to hide her assets. I found bank statements showing transfers to her sister's account 250 that I never knew about, and I saw emails where she was plotting her next move, how to make sure I'd never get a penny of the house or any of our assets. She was preparing for a full-on escape, and she was using the legal system to try to turn me into the villain. She'd even told her friends that I was abusive, controlling, and that I was trying to take everything from her. It made me sick to hear her spin such lies, knowing how much she'd lied to my face. Meanwhile, I hired a private investigator to confirm what I suspected. She was meeting Jason, her lawyer, in secret. I got photos of her sneaking out of her house at night, her car parked outside Jason's office after hours. I felt a mixture of rage and disgust. She was out there screwing around with the guy who was supposed to be protecting her legally, and she was lying about everything. I couldn't believe I married someone who was so manipulative, so selfish. It was like I'd been living with a master manipulator all along. The thing that hurt the most was how she continued to act innocent in front of her friends and family. She'd cry, act hurt, and claim I was the one trying to ruin her reputation. She'd say I was abusive, completely false, and paint herself as the victim. I knew she was lying, but it didn't seem to matter. She was good at it. Her bitchy attitude, her sharp tongue, her ability to twist facts. She was a pro at playing the victim and making me look like the bad guy. It was exhausting trying to combat her lies, especially knowing she'd do anything to come out on top. I've learned that is a master of deception. She's not the woman I married, not anymore. She's a con artist, a manipulator, and a liar, and I'm left trying to make sense of the wreckage she's created. I've been documenting everything, saving emails, taking screenshots, recording conversations when I could. I want to make sure I have solid proof when I go to court. I've also started talking to my lawyer about how to fight for custody of the kids and to protect my assets. I can't let her get away with this. I won't. The hardest part is knowing I have to rebuild from this. I keep asking myself if I should fight for the marriage or just walk away. Part of me still hopes she'll come clean, that she'll admit everything and maybe we can salvage some shred of what we once had. But deep down, I know she's too deep in her lies. She's not the person I thought she was. She's a liar, a thief, and an emotional manipulator. And I have to accept that I might have to cut her out of my life completely to move forward. Every day I wake up feeling a little stronger but also more cautious. I've learned that trust is fragile, and once it's broken, it's almost impossible to repair. I've been betrayed on every level, and now I have to decide how to protect myself and my future. I've realized I can't change her, but I can control what I do next. The most important thing is that I stay focused, gather evidence, and prepare to fight for what's rightfully mine. Because if I've learned anything from all this, it's that the truth always comes out, even if it's messy, painful, and hard to face. I've reached a point where I know I can't keep pretending everything's fine, even if part of me still wishes I could go back and undo all this. The truth is, betrayal has shattered my world. I've been fighting to keep it together, to stay strong for my kids, and to protect what's left of my sanity. But every day now feels like walking on thin ice. I keep thinking about the moment I first found out, those emails, the bank transfers, the court papers, and how it all snowballed from what seemed like a normal marriage to this disaster. The legal process is moving slowly but surely. I've hired a good lawyer, one who's experienced in complex divorce and asset cases. We've been gathering evidence, more emails, bank statements, witness testimonies from friends and people who saw her sneaking around. And I've also got those private investigator photos. It's a mess, but I know I need to be meticulous. She's good at lying, but I'm determined not to give her any leverage. I want her to feel the pressure to see that I'm serious about fighting for my rights. Meanwhile, she's still trying to act innocent in front of her family and friends. She cries, she whines, and she claims I'm trying to ruin her life. She's bitter, bitchy, and constantly on the attack, accusing me of all sorts of things, controlling, abusive, jealous. She even told her sister that I've been mistreating her, which is a complete lie. I never laid a hand on her or raised my voice, but she's good at spinning stories. She's a master manipulator and she's trying to turn everyone against me. It's infuriating, but I stay calm. I know her game. I've also been thinking about the future, what I want, what I need to do to move on. Honestly, part of me still hopes she'll come clean and admit everything, that she'll realize she's destroyed what we had and try to make amends. But I don't think that's going to happen. She's too deep in her lies, too committed to her schemes. I've come to accept that I might have to let go of her completely for my own sake, for the kids' sake. I don't want them growing up in this chaos, seeing their mother lie and manipulate. I want to give them stability, and I want to rebuild my life without her. One thing I've learned through all this is how important it is to protect yourself emotionally and legally. I've started therapy, not just to cope, but to make sure I don't spiral into depression or anxiety. I've also been talking with a financial advisor to secure my assets and plan for what's next. I want to make sure she doesn't drain me further or try to take everything. I've seen her in action, and I know she's capable of doing anything to come out on top. The hardest part is the emotional toll. I feel betrayed, yes, but I also feel grief. Grief for the marriage I thought we had, for the trust I lost, for the family I thought we'd build. Sometimes I wake up feeling numb. Other times I get angry all over again. It's like I can't get off. But I keep reminding myself that I have to stay focused, that justice will come in time. I've learned that the truth always surfaces, no matter how much someone tries to hide it or spin it. And when that truth does come out, it's going to be ugly for her. I've also realized that I can't control her actions, only my response. I can't make her change or admit her guilt, but I can control how I handle this chaos. That's why I'm staying calm, gathering evidence, and making sure I do everything by the book. I want to be able to look my kids in the eyes and tell them I fought for what was right. I want to be able to stand tall, knowing I didn't let her destroy me. Because at the end of the day, I know I deserve better. I deserve honesty, respect, and a future free from her lies. And I won't stop until I get that. Honestly, I don't have all the answers yet. Some days I feel hopeful, other days I want to give up. But I keep pushing forward because I believe in justice. I believe that the truth will set me free, even if it takes time. And I believe that I'll come out of this stronger, wiser, and more prepared for whatever life throws at me next. Because I've learned that betrayal is a test, one that reveals who you really are. And I'm determined to be the man who stands tall, no matter how much the ground shakes beneath him. Looking back, I never thought I'd be in a situation where I'd be fighting to reclaim my life from someone I once loved. The betrayal runs so deep that it still feels like a punch to the gut every time I think about it. The woman I married turned out to be a master manipulator, a liar, and a thief, someone who used her charm and bitchy attitude to hide her true nature. The court proceedings are ongoing, but I've already made up my mind. I will not let her walk all over me or take everything I've worked so hard for. The process has been exhausting. Between legal battles, trying to keep my emotions in check, and managing the fallout with the kids, I've learned a lot about resilience. I've become more cautious, more guarded, but also more determined. I know now that trust is fragile, and once broken, it's incredibly hard to repair. But I also know that honesty and standing firm are the only ways to fight back against someone who's done everything to manipulate the system. Through it all, I've realized how important it is to protect your mental health. I've started therapy, not just to cope, but to make sure I keep my focus and don't spiral into despair. I've also surrounded myself with friends who see through lies and who remind me of who I am. They've been my support system, and I'm grateful for that. I've learned to listen to my instincts and trust my judgment because, at the end of the day, I am the one who has to live with the truth. The biggest lesson I take from this is that betrayal exposes people for who they really are. Actions revealed her true character, selfish, deceitful, and willing to destroy everything for her own gain. I've come to accept that I can't change her, but I can control how I respond. I can choose to rebuild my life, to focus on my children, and to find happiness again without her. I've realized that sometimes the best revenge is simply moving on and proving that you're stronger than the pain she caused. I also want to say this: if you're going through something similar, don't ignore the signs. Trust your gut. Document everything. Get legal support early. Because once the truth comes out, it's going to be messy, but it's the only way to ensure justice. And never forget your worth. No matter how much someone tries to tear you down, you are better than their lies and manipulations. You deserve honesty, respect, and a life built on integrity. So here I am, finally ready to close this chapter. It's not the ending I envisioned, but it's the beginning of a new one where I take control, protect my children, and rebuild my sense of self. This betrayal may have shattered my world, but it also taught me resilience and the importance of standing up for what's right. I've learned that even in the darkest moments, there's a glimmer of hope, and that hope is what keeps me going. I refuse to let her define me or steal my future. I will move forward stronger and wiser, knowing I fought for the truth and for my own peace.